Hi, today we will be talking about video surveillance goals and DORI. DORI is a video standard defining the ability to distinguish persons or objects in a covered area, and it's not used in the same way in different countries, but a lot of it will be used in the UK, and in different forms could be used in other parts of Europe or US. And those video surveillance standards we could divide into kind of 4 levels: detect, observe, recognize, and identify. And those standards also define our surveillance goals. So detect is the basically ability to detect if there is something there or there is nothing there. So there's general overview of the area. This will be very wide shot of the very wide field of view of the camera, and all the objects there will be very small. The second level is observe, which in my opinion is mostly related to a movement. So you observe what is happening. Is this object moving this way? Is the person or car moving this way or that way? Another level is recognize, and that's give you much more information. You can see that's a person, you can see the colors, you can see the shape. Is a vehicle, what type of vehicle is it? Is it a car? Is it a van? Is it a truck? And so on. And then the highest level is identify, and this gives you an ability to get a very specific identification. So you can see the face, and that face will take a big part of the pictures. You can easily recognize who that is if you have some pictures of that person, or you have, for instance, a registration plate, picture of registration plate, which will be part of the usually it's taken by ANPR camera. And these are the required minimum pixel densities for each level. So the lowest is detect, it's 25 pixels per meter. And the second is observe, which is 63 pixels per meter. And then we have recognize, 125 pixels per meter. And then we have identify, 250 pixels per meter. Some of the producers have their own definitions. So for instance, Bosch or Axis will have their own definition. If I remember, Bosch has slightly different levels, and they don't have a level called observe, but they have a level called classify. And for instance, the highest level identify is around 120, so it's much lower than this. But anyway, these are certain levels which you can then, let's say you have to identify a person. You can assume, for instance, that you have 1 meter or less where the person stands, and you must have at least 250 pixels. But obviously you can have much better than that. There is an example here for a 4 megapixel camera. Obviously, if you remember 4 megapixel, we were talking obviously about megapixels in different levels. So you will see exactly what's the resolution, width and height. But in this case you have lenses 2.8 focal length, 3.6 focal length, and 6 millimeters focal length. And for the sensor, which is 4 megapixel, and that's the camera, which gives that type of resolution, you can get those different levels at certain distance from the camera. So you have a detect level, for instance, for 2.8, 43 meters, observe 17, recognize 9, identify 4. So that's the minimum distance the person or object has to be to the in front of the camera to get those levels as in this slide. And there's an example for 8 megapixel. Obviously you can see that from 8 megapixel is basically 4K Ultra HD camera. So you can see for the same lenses, the person can be, object can be much farther, comparing with this one here. So we doubled basically the number of pixels, yeah, and we didn't double, almost double in some cases, the distance. And basically that's what it is. So these are certain limitations which should, when you trying to choose which camera to pick for which job, depending what the camera is supposed to do. Is it giving general overview? Is this camera which you can see a little bit better, like see what type of car and so on? Or is it a camera which has to identify the person? For instance, in the retail industry, you have a camera which is called ID camera. There's nothing special about that camera except that it's looking at the entrance and it's giving very close shot to that at that entrance, so you can see clearly the face of the person, and there is a monitor hanging there somewhere, so the person entering the shop can see them. It's himself or herself, and it's kind of deterrent. But the quality of the camera and the length, distance from the door and so on, is set in the level that you can clearly identify the person when it enters the shop. That's how it should be done, at least. I'm not saying that everywhere is like that, but that's how it should be done. Thank you.